How you doing, everybody? This is your boy Wardy, and as you can see, we're back at it talking about the amazings of folks. We got a big discussion to get into, one that I'm not only pumped up for regarding the latest reports, which indicate, yeah, the Mets might not be done adding to this rotation after all, and that is certainly a good sign, but also the big live show we have in a couple hours at the time of recording this, 8 p.m. Eastern. Myself and fellow MLB YouTuber Jolly Olive, who does a great job breaking down not only all things MLB, but was the former co-host of the Shea Station podcast with Jerry Blevins, huge Mets fan. Jolly and I are going to be breaking down our thoughts about the Mets' current roster construction for 2024, who's going to be playing where, and ultimately, how can the Mets round out their roster and the DH position, potentially the rotation now, and the bullpen. We're going to be highlighting names that we like as potential fits and interacting with you guys on the live show, so make sure you chime in, and thank you all so much in advance. Also, shout out to BetUS for being a great sponsor on the channel, as always. But now let's talk about key reporting that has come out, because as I stated in last night's live show, breaking down more about Sean Manaea and his game and what is next for the Mets, I have been under the belief that, yes, the Mets are pretty much done adding to their rotation until proven otherwise. Will Salmon of The Athletic on the beat for the Mets has stated that. Others have as well. But now we hear recent reporting which indicates, yes, it might be the opposite. David Stearns, even if he does not land another starter, it ain't going to be for a lack of effort here, as he is still very active in the trade market. First of Mark Feinsand of MLB.com, then reaffirmed here of SNY, states the following: even after adding Sean Manaea on a 2-year deal, the Mets are, and I quote, actively trying to trade for more starting pitching, reports Mark Feinsand of MLB.com. I want to know your initial reactions, thoughts, comments, questions, and concerns down below, because I'm absolutely pumped up about this. Again, the Mets, we know just a couple days ago, have been linked to Dylan Cease, who would be a great arm, a formidable, truly a bona fide top 3 starter in this rotation. The Mets have done a really solid job this offseason by adding depth, but they don't have a lot of quality in their starting pitching. Kodai Senga and Jose Quintana, that's pretty much it, with guys where you pretty much know what to expect for the 2024 season, while everyone else is kind of a toss-up where they're coming off of down years, inconsistencies, injuries, and you're just hoping that you can get them back to what their previous form was, or what they can be still as they're developing their game even as veterans. But look, you got Jose Quintana, Kodai Senga, Sean Manaea, Adrian Hauser, the list goes on and on there. Luis Severino, of course. Then you have the Jose Butos, the Tyler McGills, the Joey Fuegos. They have depth there, but they definitely would look so much better with at least one more true bona fide number 3 starter in this rotation. That's why they go out of their way to trade for Dylan Cease. I'm absolutely in love with that idea that we've discussed in previous content. Check it out. They go out their way to land maybe an in-division rival in Jesus Luzardo from the Miami Marlins, who's been in a boatload of trade rumors this offseason, just like Dylan Cease. Fits the Mets bill for the short and long-term vision, just like Cease as well, which I absolutely love. Again, he's 26 years of age, multiple years of control. The guy's been brilliant. We did a recent video on him, so make sure to check it out. But the Mets have a bunch of options in the trade market here, so this is pretty much my counter to the belief that, oh, if the Mets trade for a starter, it's going to be another 5th, 6th guy. While that may be true, the proper counter is, why would the Mets do that when there's still formidable options in the free agent market that you can sign in 1-year deals that could exactly do that? Whether that's a Mike Clevenger, to a lesser degree, maybe a Hyun-Jin Ryu, Brandon Woodruff 2025 and beyond, of course. Point is that there's still available arms in the free agent market that would make sense for the Mets. They want to add these C, D tier options for the back end of your rotation. I think we all know the Mets have plenty depth on that front, so it makes far more sense to go out your way to try to acquire, again, a bona fide top 3 starter, whether that's going to be a Jesus Luzardo, whether that's going to be a Dylan Cease. Mitch Keller from the Pittsburgh Pirates has a nice ring to it, and honestly, shout out to my friend Jordan Simpson, who does a fantastic job making his own individual unique content when it comes to music, highlighting Mets themes, including the Mets intro song we have in our live shows was made by Jordan, so shout out to him. He messaged me the other day. He's like, what about Mitch Keller? I'm like, Mitch Keller makes a lot of sense too. You know, just had over 4-year array, young starting pitcher, multiple years of control from the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm sure we'll expand on him more shortly, should the Mets not acquire another starter in the next 24, 48 hours. But then you also have a bunch of other options, whether that be a couple of the young studs from, yes, the Mariners, not named Luis Castillo. I do not anticipate a Luis Castillo trade type happening, mainly because he's already 31, already played in his first year of his new long-term contract with the Mariners. Why would the Mets do that? It doesn't fit. They're both short-term and long-term build, focusing on 2025 and beyond. You have to think about guys that fall in a similar category to Yoshinobu Yamamoto. 25 years of age with all the potential in the world. The Mets did not land Yamamoto, but it wasn't for a lack of effort, which is exactly why they're doing their due diligence here and trying to land a young, high upside starter to help frontline this rotation potentially with Kodai Senga. And again, if they end up settling with, say, more of a back-end option or middle to back-end option, I'm not going to hate that. I want as much starting pitching depth as humanly possible, but truthfully, not only from a fan perspective, but just a rational perspective, everyone and their mother knows that this rotation is far better off if they add another true top 3 starter. If they just add another depth guy, there's going to be a little bit to be desired there. And again, it wouldn't shock me if the Mets head into their rotation with how things currently stand, because wanting to acquire a guy via trade versus actually landing are two different things. You have to give to get. And as I emphasized in the Jesus Luzardo video and Dylan Cease, you have to give up some really strong prospects, at least 1 or 2, to land these type of guys with multiple years of control, high upside, potentially even ace caliber stuff with some of these guys that we're referring to. And there's a difference certainly between going after these controllable young starters versus a Corbin Burnes or a Shane Bieber. Do not get your hopes up on something like that happening. I'll even go out to say, don't get your hopes up on the Mets getting a true ace caliber starter via trade. We don't even know if they're going to land anyone in the trade market. But again, Dylan Cease, David Stearns has been so active in this trade market for quite a bit now. It should not come as a shock to anyone if they land another starter, but what I will tell you again is don't get your hopes up on it being the prettiest name that you're hoping for. Let's just see what David Stearns has in store, if they can get a move done, or if they're going to roll into the 2024 season with what they currently have. But as we mentioned, Dylan Cease, again, Jesus Luzardo, he's just an absolute thing of beauty. I love everything about him, and these are guys that, unlike Shane Bieber and Corbin Burnes, why won't those guys be heading to Queens this season more than likely? It's because of the rentals, and they come at a significant value. If they were rentals that were more back-end options, the Mets would absolutely consider them. But knowing that these are ace caliber pitchers to help frontline your rotation, why give up all these key assets when you can go out and try to acquire said pitcher just a couple months from now once they hit the free agent market, more than likely, in both the cases of Bieber here and also the case here in Corbin Burnes. Again, phenomenal talents, but guys where there's far more risk when acquiring them via trade, when you can just wait a little bit and hope for the best and landing one of those multiple aces available in the 2025 free agent market. So a couple more things I want to highlight here about the Mets and why this makes sense for them. It's everything that we've already explained here. You look at this rotation construction, you look at the breakdown when you get to the 5, 6, 7, 8 starters. And again, there's a great chance that regarding this team in particular, they could find themselves in a position where they certainly want to add guys that are better than depth options, mainly because the Mets already have that and then some. If the Mets want to prove to us fans as well, I know that there's a contingency of fans that believe that they're punting on 2024. I'm not under that belief whatsoever. I'm under the belief if you're punting, you're not going out of your way to try to better the club whatsoever for the upcoming season. The Mets would not have pursued Yamamoto in any which way, shape, or form if that was the case. He was always the exception to focus on both short and long term, but everything outside that has been pretty much in par with what we anticipate the Mets to do this offseason, and they're not done making moves. And when you look at the available guys in the free agent market right now, if they somehow can land one of a Luzardo, a Cease, a Keller, even maybe a Logan Gilbert, again, one of those young guys from Seattle. It isn't going to come cheap, whether it's Wu, whoever it may be. If you can land one of those high upside young starters, that automatically changes not only the makeup for the rotation for 2024, 2025 and beyond, but also changes the perception of the club heading into this season. I know the Mets are not operating with the belief that, hey, we need to do this because the fans want us to, but they're also being rational in their way of thinking. And David Stearns will be the first to tell you, yes, we like what we currently have depth-wise in the rotation, but if we can add more there, we would certainly love to do that. So whether the Mets add another depth starter or what I'm firmly under the belief what they want to add and more of a frontline guy, and the reason why I say that is why else would the Mets be active in the trade market for Dylan Cease if they didn't want a Dylan Cease type pitcher, right? So you have multiple guys that fall in those categories, young, controllable, have upside, have some nasty stuff. Let's see if David Stearns can try to work his magic and make the first true big move as a New York Met president of baseball operations. If he doesn't, I won't be shocked, because that just tells me that the trade value probably wasn't warranted enough versus what you can get either maybe lean up to the trade deadline or, of course, in the free agent market. But if they do land one, and even if they give up, say, some top prospects that we love, I don't want to get rid of them, but Luis Angel Acuna, Jet Williams, I certainly could see one of them going at the right price, because they're two guys that profile at second second base more than anything else, and the Mets already have a logjam right now in Jeff McNeil. What is Jeff's future? Again, a lot of questions raised knowing that the Mets are heavily active in the trade market, but one thing is certain. David Stearns wants to add more. Steve Cohen wants to add more. Wanting and actually getting, we know, are two different things, but it will not be because of a lack of effort. So Mets fans, whoever you're a fan of, I want to know your thoughts in the comments below about this, because keep in mind one more thing. I don't want to forget this. The Mets 40-man is already full pretty much, right? So any moves that they do going forward has to be via trade or has to be because they're DFAing guys. And they need to add at least one, if not two more relievers for their bullpen. They need to hopefully add a DH if they're willing to do so. And they are looking like they want to add to said rotation still. So do the math. They're going to part with some guys, whether we like it or not, because you have to give to get at the end of the day. So that is what I'll leave you with. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below, as the Mets and David Stearns are still very active in the trade market even after landing Sean Manaea. What moves could be on the horizon for the club in your opinion? Let me know, and stay tuned again for our live show in a couple hours at the time recording this, myself and Jolly Olive, and I'll talk to you guys all again real soon. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.